This is fantastic.
On this volatile episode of Mythbusters.
Ooh, that had some bass to it.
We're asking if you combine the right person
What do you think of the shirt?
with the right diet
To squeeze and be first.
and the right circumstance, do you end up with an explosion?
Could a malodorous sleeping bag backfire,
Which fart do you fear more?
Oh, John, yeah.
spark a campsite calamity? Then,
Heads up.
can a damaged domestic appliance
Oh, yeah.
really wreak havoc on an innocent RV?
When that water heater goes, and it will, I think it'll cut a perfect cookie cutter shape right through that RV. You know, when Brian puts his gloves on, it's business time. It's time to fire it up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Our first fable unfolds in a mythical location that we like to call Twin Cheeks.
Let's just get this out of the way and explain what a Dutch oven is for those of you who don't know. A Dutch oven is when you're lying in bed at the end of the day, nice and relaxed, next to your partner, and all of a sudden you're like, what is that? And they pull the bed sheets over your head, forcing you to wallow in their perfume.
The story goes that after sharing a hearty campfire meal, a couple retire to their tent and a double sleeping bag. The man lets off a Dutch oven blowout just as she lights a cigarette. And a practical joke ends in camping catastrophe. It's the kind of bonding behavior you'd think would ruin the romance. But could it actually stoke the fire?
The only way to really test this myth, we're gonna have to collect some farts and have them analyzed.
You know, no one's gonna donate their farts to us, so we're gonna have to collect our own.
No problem. Pull my finger.
The guys know their bottom burps are flammable, but it's worth finding out if one or the other has more explosive potential.
You've been thinking about it.
I have.
In fact, John's given this a lot of thought.
You ever see those waders that they go, fly fishing with?
Yeah.
They're waterproof, right? So,
To Brian's bemusement, John whips up a blueprint of his patented fly fishing flatulence pants.
seal it up there so there's no weird air pockets or anything like that. And then Bob's your uncle.
That is awfully impressive, John. I think I'm gonna take a different route than you, though.
And that would be the direct route.
Insert tube A into slot B, allowing access to bag C. That's enough said. Hope we got lube.
Our next fable asks, can a quake and shake turn a water heater into a rocket? This is a myth of successive disasters. First, the tremor. A long-neglected water heater is badly shaken and goes horizontal. The already damaged heater starts building pressure, resulting in a catastrophic failure and a 700-pound torpedo. The steam-powered missile punctures the wall before blasting a hole through an RV outside. Unlikely occurrence or genuine cause for concern?
Man, this is gonna be awesome.
I know, right? There's nothing more Mythbusters than turning a household appliance into a rocket.
Right?
All right, so how are we gonna test this?
We're gonna fire a water tank torpedo through an RV?
Love it.
I think we should start with the specific circumstances of this myth and test the orientation of the water heater.
Like horizontal versus vertical.
Exactly, see how that affects the mechanics of the launch. What do you say we start with some water bottle rockets and see how those go?
Brian, you had me at rockets.
Brian and John have already dabbled with rocket water heaters in the Search finale, when a mythical prisoner made his unconventional bust for freedom. The in vitro testing should be short and simple. All they need is water, a flask, and a Bunsen burner.
I guess we'll have to cork it. And then as this thing boils, we'll put a nice high-speed scale.
Yeah.
And that way we can figure out what the optimal mixture of air and water would be.
Always love corks and high speed.
Because air is compressible and water isn't,
Oh, look at that.
explosive potential can vary wildly, depending on the mix.
There we go.
And now we wait.
A corked vessel filled with H2O and heated has predictably piddling results.
Kettle's ready.
If you have a water heater full of water, the same thing would happen. It would expand and thunk, have an unimpressive leak.
Clearly, 100% water is not going to send our water heater flying. So the next test we're going to do is mix the different ratios of water to air to find that perfect butter zone ratio to give us that pop we're looking for.
And what could be fairer than starting with 50-50?
That's pretty good. Looked like maybe about 6 or 7 inches.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
50% water gave us a pretty decent pop, but now it's time for 25% air and 75% water. Let's see how it goes. Hey! All right, you want to shut the gas off? Well, that's interesting.
It sure is precisely the same thrust as last time, but 75% water is the ratio they'll go with.
That's good for us. On the full scale, in the water heater, we need to keep those elements submerged. So the more water, the better.
So for a working hypothesis, the mythical heater lost a quarter of its water from quake damage. Filling a vessel 3/4 with water not only gives maximum explosive potential, it also minimizes the chance of prematurely rupturing the tank. So they're using the same ratio for their small-scale tests with bottle rockets, powered by 40 psi of compressed air.
So out here, we're going to figure out if there's a difference between a vertical launch and a horizontal launch, because this is what the myth is about, right? Perfect.
The first firing aims straight for the skies.
Ready to fire.
Get back here. All right, water bottle rocket vertical test in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, heads up. Here we go.
I always enjoy those.
That was
man.
very nice. Okay, let's take a look at that high speed. Ooh, that's such a beautiful launch. It's about 39 feet per second.
Hey, that's not bad.
So what changes in a horizontal launch? For one thing, there's a major shift in the ballast.
Come take a look at this. Right now, the air is sitting on top of the water this way. But before, when we launched vertically, it was sitting this way. So we want to see if the change in orientation affects how much pressure we get and also how fast it'll go. Charging it up. That's good. Horizontal bottle rocket test in 3, 2, 1. Oh.
That was energetic.
To see just how energetic, it's off to the high speed.
So all the water is down, but
Right.
look, as it begins to accelerate, the force of the acceleration drives all the water to the back.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of acting like a normal vertical launch after about 8 inches there.
Okay, and it looks like it is 61 feet per second.
That's faster than the vertical launch. I think that's real interesting for the myth.
Without gravity holding it back, the rocket packs even more of a punch fired horizontally.
We launched both our water heater bottles at 40 psi. Our vertical one went up at 39 feet per second. Our horizontal, 61 feet per second. That was unexpected. That looks really good for our water heater myth.
And that's a green light to proceed to seriously mangling some household hardware.
Yeah, I think it's actually time we fired some real water heaters.
Oh yeah.
Over the years, igniting flammable gas has been a Mythbusters hallmark. But this time around, it's more personal.
Oh, got it.
Can a Dutch oven be deadly? We're asking if you combine the right person with the right diet and the right circumstance, do you end up with an explosion? That's the myth, and that's what we're gonna test.
First up, they need to wrangle some rump rippers. John's building a fishing pants filter. Let's just say it's an intricate interplay of hoses, pipes, and holes.
And voila, Got a fresh bag of my backdoor breeze. Now I just gotta fill it with water. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
I need your help.
What can I do for you?
I need you to fill this with water.
Oh, gladly.
Hoses outside.
Go.
And in the true spirit of exploiting useful things in ways never intended, John's using waterproof pants to hold in the H2O.
The whole idea of this is that the wind I eventually pass gets trapped in the water, then it bubbles up for collection. That way I get a pure fart with no outside contaminants. Well, that's the theory anyway. I'm afraid of what I've become.
I was concerned the tube was the bad choice.
You'll never catch me, Brian!
After walking around a bit, John finds a flaw in his flatulence catchers.
Woo!
The more water they add, the more they stretch.
Just go from the foot and wrap tape as tight as you can, because I feel like this thing's gonna give out soon.
This is the funniest thing I've done in my entire life, John.
Okay. I honestly didn't think these things would stretch very much, but they did. And so that's why I had Brian squeeze me into the pants, or squeeze the pants into me, and I think we solved our problem. Except it's a little wet.
So they're all set to harvest some bubbles
John,
Yeah.
gas station's ready. Come fuel up.
once the furnace is properly stoked.
Ooh, nice.
We got quite the spread.
Can we just start eating?
Eat away, my friend.
Dude.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh.
People naturally produce varying amounts of methane and hydrogen as flammable gases in their farts. But we can influence that. Meat for the methane, fiber for the hydrogen. We'll throw in some CO2 to increase the volume.
To squeezing beefers.
Oh, yeah, cheers. I love to eat, so the fact that I'm doing it for science just makes it all that much more delicious.
How's the wings?
It's actually really good. All the things that help me crank out those sweet, sweet air tulips. There you go.
Although we pass gas on average 14 times a day, few have the talent to do it on cue. Exercise can help.
Digestion takes time, but we're hoping to help bump it along with just moving around. But exercise is hard, especially when you're wearing water-filled fart-catching pants. I'm pretty sure no one said that before. Brian. Come here real quick. I have a gift for you.
Oh.
That's a small one, but it's a start.
It's a start, man. It's working.
It sure is. Within the hour, they've both baked enough brownies for a professional analysis.
The way we're gonna find the composition of our gases is handed over to a lab who will run it through a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. This GCMS will do two things: take our sample, break it down into its components, and then identify the components. This will give us a rough baseline of how much methane or hydrogen you find in a typical dirty duck call.
Gas collection's coming along nicely, but we need about 200 milliliters for the lab, and if we overdo it, might get a little bit toxic.
Doesn't look like much, but that's a good volume of fart.
Even though they just ate the same food, they're about to discover that one sample is fundamentally far more flammable.
All right, we gotta get these off to the lab.
Yeah, handle with care.
If launching domestic water heaters has taught us anything over the years,
I see a hole in the roof, man!
it's that it's best done in wide open spaces.
Here it comes. I never get tired of that.
Brian and John have located a prime piece of acreage that should fit the bill.
This place looks tailor-made for launching water heaters.
Yeah, real nice.
But before going full scale, they've decided to field test a smaller 12-gallon heater.
What do we get? What do we get? Yeah, water heater!
The data they wrangle on speeds and trajectories could be invaluable. Besides, it's a beautiful day for a plumbing catastrophe.
I feel like I'm holding a giant baby. Oh, it's okay. Oh, shush.
And right now, this baby needs changing. First, it's off with the primary fail-safe features, the thermostat and the pressure release valve.
Oh, yeah.
It's been standard practice for every water heater myth to date, replacing the safeties with gauges to track the tank's vital statistics.
So when we launch this water heater, we're gonna wanna do the same thing by keeping track of temperature with this thermocouple and pressure with this pressure transducer.
Should we set the thermostat on very hot or crazy hot?
Steady.
But don't think they're not taking the proper precautions.
What is this whole thing here all about? Well, when we heat that water heater up, no one is getting near it. So, for safety reasons and emergency reasons, we have a string tied to the valve, so when we yank it, pressure gets released.
Once the tank's filled to the magic 3/4 mark,
All right, wiring set.
it's good to blow.
Well, all the heavy lifting's done. All we have to do now is wait. And you know, these things take a long time to build pressure and blow. So I'm gonna leave that to you. I'm gonna go back to the shop and start building our tipping rig.
You sure?
Yeah, just bring back some beautiful high-speed footage.
Absolutely.
All right, good luck.
With John back at the workshop, it's all up to Brian to give this mid-scale missile its very best shot.
Remember, this myth's about the water heater in the garage being knocked over by an earthquake, launching horizontally, blasting a hole in an RV. We've got our water heater in its horizontal launch position ready to go, temperature and pressure sensors in, all plumbed up, just the wiring. So in order to get some data, we've set up our high-speed scale so we can track both the velocity and the trajectory.
When it's all set, Brian retreats to the bunker for what could be a very long wait.
When we first start energizing our water heater, we see a really slow buildup of pressure. And what we're seeing is the water converting into steam, filling that air gap. And that steam in the air gap's where the pressure comes from. The pressure! It's getting to me! And that pressure is 43 psi.
As the heating water expands, there's increasingly less space for the steam, and so the slow rise in pressure. Brian knows it's not likely to blow till the pressure hits at least 320 pounds per square inch. And that's still a ways off.
I wonder if John's having as much fun building as I am out here.
And then there'll be a thing here, and a rope will go whoop.
Seems he is. Chalk that up to pre-build buzz.
This myth requires that we tip a almost ready to explode water heater on its side. And as hilarious as it would be for me and Brian to run out there and tip it over by hand, for obvious safety reasons, we're not gonna do that. So instead, I'm gonna build a rig. Water heater teeter. All right, up top, Brian.
With a filled 65-gallon water heater weighing upwards of 700 pounds, the tipping rig needs to be as sturdy as John can make it.
This will be the platform our water heater sits on, so when it's about to explode, we'll collapse the legs in, swing the platform down, transforming it into our launch pad that'll direct the water heater right into the RV.
Back in the bunker, the pressure is building.
Any moment now. Oh, wow! Holy, that was powerful.
And that was an understatement. It was more like a bomb going off.
You have your temperature up at 420 degrees, we get up to 335 psi, and then boom! Hits you in the chest, so solid.
Wow. That is just an insane amount of energy. Looks like everything blew up, but we know the back end went that way, and for the equal and opposite reaction, the front of the tank went somewhere that way. It looked like just a massive explosion, but it did launch, which is great for the myth. Now we just gotta figure out where the tank is and see how fast it went on high speed.
Any doubts that a horizontal water heater could go the distance have just been blown away.
There it is. Hit at the bottom of that hill, slid along, cartwheeled up some, bounced off the top, through a whole bunch of trees, landing about 50 feet from the top of the hill right here.
It's not every home appliance that can launch itself the length of 3 football fields and up a hill.
That's incredible.
Seems the myth is on track. And what a track. To test the myth of the exploding Dutch oven, John and Brian have each captured some sample exhaust fumes for expert analysis.
We got your fart.
And the rather comprehensive results are in.
I don't know if I gave you this much gas to analyze.
Val Mallory of Air Technology Laboratories normally tests things like landfill emissions for the EPA. So breaking down a couple of butt blasts is a relative breeze.
How did you do, Brian?
I got 4.8% hydrogen and 0.01, so almost no methane. How about you?
Wow, really? Let's see. Hydrogen, 17% by volume. And methane, 4.4%.
It looks a lot like a landfill gas sample, actually.
Here we go. That sounds like an accomplishment to me.
Methane and hydrogen are the two key combustible gases in flatulence. The balance of one to the other can differ widely, most likely due to the different types of bacteria found from gut to gut.
So, as a professional, I want to ask you, which fart do you fear more?
Oh, John, yeah. We had, we're gonna have to dispose of it differently than
Thank you
yours.
very
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
This amount of data is fantastic. It gets us that baseline we need to really see what sort of dump-type mixture we need for the explosion here. Thank
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's a perfect cue to start blowing things up. Specifically, party balloons filled with different mixtures of noxious vapors.
So we have your baseline and my baseline to start with. So we'll need some kind of rig to measure and dispense gas.
Mix them within that range and get the biggest fart possible.
The need for precision is paramount, and this is where John comes into his own. His custom gas delivery device is even more complex than his fart-catching water pants. Here's how it works.
We start by taking these two tanks and filling our reservoir balloons respectively with hydrogen and methane. Then we come over to the valve, open one that allows me to draw one of the gases into the chamber. Then we can close off the gas valve and open the one to our target balloon where I can then fill it up here. And when we're all ready, we'll just take it, tie it off, over to the high speed, and measure the boom.
As for getting the ratios right, well, Brian's done the math.
I've looked at our two reports. Mine basically has trace methane, such little amounts that they don't even interact.
Okay.
So we're gonna do 100% hydrogen for my balloon. Yours is about a 4-to-1 ratio, so we'll do 4 parts hydrogen to 1 part methane.
Here we go.
It's all hands to the pumps as both balloons are filled with surrogate steamers.
Hydrogen 4.
There you go.
Watching explosions is fun, but we need to collect data, which is why we have this radial high-speed scale, so that when we ignite our gas, we can measure the speed and the size of the explosion. All right.
Igniter at the ready and
right,
blast
let's
screen
tell
in place. They'll burst Brian's balloon first.
Brian fart, that's 100% hydrogen. In 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, that had some bass to it.
Pretty good.
Oh, very nice.
Let's see if your little gas blast is any better.
Will more methane result in more mayhem? We're about to find out.
All right, John's gas ratio, methane to hydrogen is 1 to 4. In 3, 2, 1.
That's a little bigger looking.
Makes me proud.
Didn't have the bass to it though.
Oh, really?
I don't know, I didn't feel it.
To best appreciate the explosive art of the fart, it's off to the high speed. Brian's blast is first.
It's beautiful. So majestic for a fart. Let's switch over to my gaseous balloon.
John's methane mix is just as majestic,
That's pretty cool.
That's beautiful.
which isn't helping them dial this one in.
They look more or less the same. I think we're missing the oxygen that would be in the sleeping bag, the air.
Adding oxygen to each of the samples makes sense, and it just might have a more pronounced effect on one than the other. So it's time to add fuel to this fire.
So this one is 50% hydrogen, and then there's 50% air.
It's the Brian Dutch oven balloon.
In 3, 2, 1.
In pursuing the myth of the earthquake water heater,
Oh, wow!
our diligent duo briefly went solo. John built a solid steel heater teeter. And Brian made a 12-gallon tank torpedo.
we found an impact point. Oh, wow.
Now the teams reunited to swap notes.
Hey, John.
Here, hold this.
This is fantastic.
It's a mighty solid piece of construction. But after hearing Brian's tale from the test site,
Boom! Everything's just gone in a blink. Your rig is in shambles.
and seeing the high speed,
Oh! That's it, yeah.
John's suddenly not sure it's solid enough.
My old rig looks like someone took my tin foil from a sandwich and went, ugh. And so I'm looking at my full-scale rig, and this is 2x2 quarter-inch box steel that I've seen survive explosions before. And I'm wondering if I'm just feeding the larger water heater a bigger ball of tin foil.
Given the explosion will generate almost 100,000 pounds of force, John has grounds for concern. Still, they decide the rig should hold together, and it's time to go full scale.
That small-scale test was insane. In 3 feet, the water heater got up to 320 miles an hour. If you think about it, sound moves at 770 miles an hour, so this water heater was moving just under half the speed of sound.
But as it took off, it went vertical. And remember, this myth is about punching a hole in that RV.
But before the RV, it needs to burst clean through the side of a building. So here, in the middle of nowhere,
Facing that way.
That way?
the crew pulls together for an old-fashioned garage raising.
Keep it vertical.
Oh, what's that jiggling?
That's an earthquake, John.
This is no flimsy prop. The structure itself should stand up to at least a mid-range tremor.
Very nice.
Very nice.
The key component is John's drop rig. And it looks like they've done their homework. It's a perfect fit.
No, you're good. Just drop it. What do you think, Brian?
It's a beast of a stand, man.
You want a quick demo?
Oh, please.
Okay, so
Am I safe here?
you might want to just take a step outside.
That's beautiful, man.
Their attention to detail is more than impressive.
Gently.
The craftsmanship, not so much.
That worked great, John. Well, good thing this house is about to blow up.
I ruined our cabin.
And if the myth really is on the level, a much-loved motorhome might go the same way.
This is the family RV. We've had it for generations. It was my great-great-great-great-great-grandpapa's. He bought it brand new, and we love this thing dearly. Let me give you a tour. Look at this. All the things you need in modern comfort. We have full-size kitchen with 4, count them, 4 gas burners. We have the latest in entertainment technology. We have a full-size bathroom right in here, and a beautiful, beautiful master bedroom back here. This place reeks of history.
Last on stage is the star of this shaky domestic drama. It's as big as Brian, and when filled with water, weighs more than 2 upright pianos.
Will this fit through the door?
I don't know. We might
we
have
go.
to rotate slightly for me.
Ooh, nice.
There we go.
Ooh, like a glove.
We're in.
Okay, let's tilt it up. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is our water heater earthquake rig all set up. Water heater, stand, and emergency release valve. So when it's about ready to blow, Brian and I will pull the string, kicking the leg in, causing this whole tower to go doom.
The planning so far has been flawless, but the same can't be said for the heater. It's been deliberately doctored to be highly unstable. One thing the Mythbusters know is when these things get squirrely, mayhem is just moments away. To get the best gas ratio for an explosive Dutch oven, the guys are comparing their own flank fizzers.
It looks a lot like a landfill gas sample, actually.
They know oxygen has to be part of the mix,
Makes me proud.
so they've added air to Brian's hydrogen.
So this one is 50% hydrogen, and then there's 50% air.
It's the Brian Dutch oven balloon.
3, 2, 1. Ooh.
That was better.
Adding air gave a bigger boom to Brian's butt breeze. So, how will John's fare?
1 methane, 4 hydrogen, and 5 air. In 3, 2, 1.
That's pretty good.
Both blasts are impressive. But they've noted one critical difference: the speed.
It looks like yours was about half a second, and mine was about half of a second.
So like a quarter?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that your fart was more of a explosion and mine was kind of a burn, and the myth says explosion.
It's a personal setback for John, but he needs to remember, there's no I in fart.
When I got the lab results back and I saw those high peaks of my fart results, I thought that my farts would be more explosive. But it turns out Brian's hydrogen fart burns twice as fast, which makes it closer to an explosion, which is what the myth calls for.
So although John's methane had a longer burn, it looks like Brian's hydrogen-heavy sample is the way to blow.
Now it's time for the containment device, a sleeping bag. Now, sleeping bags aren't airtight. We need a test just to see how much gas it might leak.
To find out how much gas we're leaking from our sleeping bags, we have a fun new toy in the shop. It's a thermal imaging camera, except, unlike other ones, it allows us to see gases that are otherwise invisible. Hey, Brian, can you see this?
Give it a shot.
Big breakfast.
So they know John leaks.
And I just need a piece of tape.
Time to test the sleeping bag.
Ooh, I see it.
Where's it coming from?
It's coming from that back corner. Come take a look, John. It's kind of coming from the whole thing. You see all the vapor coming off from everywhere.
As suspected, a standard sleeping bag leaks somewhat from the zip and the seams.
I gotta go stand in front of it.
Give it some body heat, John.
Can you see it above my hand at all?
Oh, there you go. Oh, look at that, yeah. It actually looks like it very much is coming up around the seams, but where your hand is and throughout the whole length of the thing, it's slowly seeping. So the zippers are the major concern, but the whole bag slowly leaks.
Okay.
But there might be a simple solution. It's that cold country camping essential, the space blanket.
Ooh, shiny.
Technically, this stuff is called Bopet. And believe me, that's the condensed version. The guys need enough of this stuff to fully line a double sleeping bag. And that's a lot of Bopet.
Teamwork, 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 teamwork. Ready?
Right about there.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good. Done.
Beautiful. One more.
Multiple sheets need to be carefully glued together,
Done.
making sure every joint is absolutely airtight.
Beautiful.
It's also easy to tear, so this is a delicate procedure. The glue isn't naturally fast drying, so Brian finds a way to speed up the process.
John, you gotta come look in here. I made a giant potato chip bag.
It's slightly translucent.
Yeah.
What's behind me is not a giant potato chip bag. It is, in fact, a freshly made Bopet sleeping bag liner with the glue still drying.
And just 10 minutes later, they're ready to see how effective it is as a fart retainer.
Okay, let's just put it right where the butt would be. Zip them up, Brian.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, let's see some gas.
Okay.
What you seeing?
Actually, I'm not seeing anything. Come take a look.
There's no doubt the space blanket limits the leakage. It's now time to gather their camping supplies and put this myth to bed.
Taking all the sheets, bro. You always do this.
The campsite they've chosen is strictly no pets.
Welcome to Camp Tudelati.
And for that, Bo should be counting her blessings.
3, 2, 1.
To replicate the myth of an RV puncturing water heater torpedo, the guys have painstakingly set the scene. One thing they can't reproduce is an earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
So John's built a steel frame to topple the heater. deployed by a very long rope that he'll pull from the bunker.
So when it's ready, it's gonna go, "Bah!"
Then it's anyone's guess when all hell might break loose.
For this myth to be confirmed, the water heater needs to destroy the garage and leave a big hole in our RV. What's my prediction? Well, I think the water heater's gonna teeter, topple over, then explode like a rocket. But will it blast through the RV? I'm not so sure. I mean, it's thin metal up top, but what it'll really depend on is the trajectory of the water heater. It's time to fire it up.
Oh, yeah.
My prediction is massive amounts of destruction. No organized little beautiful hole for this myth, but instead just glorious boom. We saw so much energy on the small scale, I imagine the house and the RV are just gonna be gone.
With the generator cranked up, the guys retreat to the safety of the bunker.
How long do you think it's gonna take for this thing to be ready?
I'll go with an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go an hour and 15 minutes.
All right, the loser cleans up the mess.
Deal.
All right.
But as the minutes tick by, it looks like they've both lost the bet.
All right, heads up. 319 degrees Fahrenheit and 129 PSI. And it's been an hour and 17 minutes. 2:45.
They both know the plan.
You know when Brian puts his gloves on, it's business time.
But when the time comes to send the heater horizontal,
All right, 280 PSI. I'm pulling the slack. Come on, slack.
there's a major snag right off the bat.
Gotta go. We're getting up to burst.
I'm gonna go.
The rope that was meant to collapse the rig's legs is so long that the whole crew is needed to take up the slack.
Is it
We're
going?
getting close now. We might have a vertical water heater.
Nope.
If the heater stays upright and still explodes,
Grab the C-clip.
they'll have blown it in the worst possible way.
What the? Hold, Tommy.
It's seldom the guys are forced to put their butts on the line to test a myth.
That's a small one, but it's a start.
And now, after exhaustive preparations,
That was better.
they're ready to rumble.
We're ready to find a location, build a campsite, and test this myth.
Whew. The sleeping bag's getting heavy. Almost there. Just gotta get to the top of that mountain.
Welcome to Camp Tudelati. This is where we're gonna test the myth of the deadly Dutch oven. We know what gas we're gonna use. We have a containment device. Now we just need to see if Buster and his chain-smoking girlfriend end up blowing the place up.
That's right, to properly test the myth, they've roped in Buster and his special someone. They start with a cozy space blanket
It's done. Let's zip them up.
and then a sleeping bag made for two.
Into the tent.
Well, yeah, okay.
He kind of looks smug about it.
Not for long.
According to the magazine Scientific American, a good-sized fart is about 1.3 fluid ounces of gas. We have the space blanket liner in that sleeping bag, and assuming our mythical camper's been tootin' all night long, that sleeping bag's packing about 13 fluid ounces of gas.
Let's get this bag plumbed up. Based on Brian's explosive farts, the primary gas we'll be using is hydrogen, plus a little bit oxygen to simulate the natural composition of a fart. What do I think is gonna happen? Well, we'll definitely get combustion, but will we get an explosion? That remains to be seen.
All right, let's tuck him in.
Of all the things that could go wrong on a camping trip, this would seem to be one of the least likely.
All right, we better get to the bunker.
But could a Dutch oven really be lethal?
You ready for this?
Heck yeah, let's do this.
All right, entire night's worth of backfires loaded up, igniters ready to go, deadly Dutch oven realistic fart test.
Dude, this is nuts. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Is it
We're
going?
getting close now. We might have a vertical water heater.
Nope.
Back on the water heater rocket range, things are definitely not going according to plan.
Help me out, Brian, with this.
With the pressure at 280 and climbing, John's simple trip rope has failed to bring the water heater down.
Can y'all help pull for John?
It could blow any second, so the entire crew leaps into action.
What the Pull, Tommy. Okay.
Finally, the rope trips the rig. But their problems aren't over. The pressure suddenly drops.
Our pressure dropped.
Oh, God.
We're thinking at this point, maybe, just maybe, there's some kind of rupture in the tank.
A small rupture could spell disaster.
299.
But before long, the pressure is back on the rise.
300 PSI.
In less than a minute, they're back on track.
302. Temperature is 268 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh! Holy crap! That was intense.
Oh.
One part of the prediction is resoundingly confirmed. The garage took a cataclysmic hit.
That just about knocked me on my ass.
But what about the myth?
Well, my question is there a hole through the RV? Good blast radius.
The door's already open. Oh!
Ah!
Look at that destruction.
Sure enough, it's a San Andreas-sized shakeup. But there's one or two aftershocks to come.
I mean, the bottom just blew off perfectly. Just swoonk.
It went through the wall at floor level, just like in the myth. But the RV, while damaged, isn't sporting the air vent the myth called for.
I mean, that's the start of a punched hole, but even where it punched a hole, it doesn't look very round to me.
Oh, wow. It's like when you try to smash a can on your head, but you don't quite succeed, and it just goes thunk. How's Buster doing? He's just watching TV. He's fine.
Fact is, their water heater torpedo ran smack dab into the RV's chassis. That's where this myth hit a solid steel speed bump.
The water heater shot through the wall, which, if you remember, we built a code, but then hit the chassis, which stopped it dead in its tracks. Buster didn't even notice, didn't even spill his drink.
So, what do you say?
Well, we got everything that happened as per the myth, right? The water heater fell over, it failed catastrophically, and it slid all the way across the ground.
Yeah, but with the garage perfectly level with the RV, that doesn't mean busted for me.
Yeah, if the mythical RV just sat a little bit lower or the water heater actually veered a little bit higher, we would have had a perfect hole in one side and out the other. So, I'd say it's plausible. And you know what that means.
Prime candidate for our first ever revisit?
Yeah, but I think we're gonna need a new RV.
Nah, that'll buff right out.
You think so?
Yeah, I know a guy.
All right, let's get out of here.
Back at Camp Tudelati, the guys are all set to cut the cheese. Will adding a spark to a fart ruin the romance and the campsite?
Deadly Dutch Oven realistic fart test.
Dude, this is nuts. All right, in 3, 2, 1. And nothing just happened. I mean, did the igniter work?
Yeah, it worked.
I guess that's kind of what I expected.
I thought there'd be like a flame or a whoosh, but I guess we didn't have enough volume for an explosion.
You know what that means, though, right?
We go from full scale to ridiculous scale?
Yeah, that's exactly the right answer.
Never let it be said our boys don't do their homework. Back in the shop, they ran tests with beanbag pellets
Make sure you're getting all the nooks and crannies, John.
to find out the exact cubic capacity of an occupied sleeping bag.
It looks like it's actually 10 cubic feet.
That's perfect.
That's the equivalent of almost 1,000 booty bonds. There's still no guarantee all that gas will go boom, but it's sure worth finding out.
All right, we're set.
So it's time to fill up the bags, eh?
Yeah,
So with these regulators, it's about 10 minutes of hydrogen.
correct.
Go. Hopefully this wind doesn't pick up or else it'll mess with our explosion.
The wrong type of wind for this myth.
We're just seconds away from taking this myth over the top. And my prediction is destruction on a massive scale. I'm talking about goodbye tent, goodbye sleeping bag, and most likely goodbye Buster's lady friend's hair. All right, Brian, you ready?
Yeah.
Deadly Dutch oven myth, what would it take test in 3, 2, 1.
That was a heck of a fart.
It sure was. And another good reason to give up smoking.
Let's just assess. It ruined our tent and the sleeping bag.
I was kind of going, where did the fluff come from? I didn't realize until just now it was the sleeping bag.
Did it just tear it open?
It's all over there.
This is fantastic.
And I like this. We put the gas lines by the exit, and that's where the burn was.
This used to be hair, but now it's a helmet. A plastic helmet. Oh, no.
If you look at it, the only parts of him that actually survived unscathed by this were his head and his arm holding down the blanket.
You ready for the high speed?
I can't wait.
That explosion expands fast enough that it shreds the sleeping bag.
It's fire and fluff and chaos.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Some weird way, that was one of the prettiest explosions I've seen.
And it was a bona fide explosion. The high speed clearly shows the destructive shockwave.
That was a ruthless booty bomb.
Blew the lid right off that Dutch oven. That's pretty nuts.
I mean, they sustained significantly more damage than I thought they would. So, what do you think? How do you want to call it?
Well, it's really a matter of volume. Considering no human I know can backfire 10 cubic feet of gas, let alone one, I'm gonna have to say it's busted.
But if you're a giant with a stomach flu, then you're gonna want to be careful.
Now what?
Well, I mean, the campfire and stuff's still here. You want to have some beans?
Did you not just see what happened?
Yeah, well, what about Frank's?
John.
Wait, what about corn? Brian, corn! Dude! More for me, I guess.